Hey, welcome back. Grab a warm drink, get the lights low, and get comfortable. Tonight I've got 3 stories for you, one satisfying, one a little strange, and one that honestly got me right in the chest. No rush, no pressure, just settle in and let me do the talking. For 3 years, my neighbor parked his boat across my driveway every single weekend, and he laughed the day I finally asked him to move it. His name was Dale, and Dale believed the world was a suggestion. His trailer stuck out just far enough that I had to do a 9-point turn to get my car onto the street. And if I so much as touched his precious fiberglass, he swore he'd sue me into the ground. I tried being nice. I brought over a 6-pack once and asked, real friendly, if he could angle the boat 6 feet the other way onto his own grass. He took the beer, drank one on his porch while I stood there, and said, quote, "It's a public street, buddy, learn to drive." So I stopped being nice. I got quiet, which is different. I started reading. Turns out our town has a very specific ordinance about trailers and boats parked on residential streets. They can sit there 72 hours and not 1 minute more before they're legally considered abandoned and eligible to be ticketed and towed at the owner's expense. The catch is enforcement is complaint-based, and one complaint alone gets ignored. But a pattern, with photos, with timestamps, with a spreadsheet, that gets attention. So every Friday when Dale rolled that boat into place, I took a photo. Time and date right there in the corner. I did it for 11 weeks. Rain, shine, didn't matter. I have a folder on my phone that is just pictures of a boat. On week 12, I walked into the city parking enforcement office with a printed binder, an actual binder with tabs. The woman at the desk flipped through it, and I watched her eyebrows climb higher and higher. She said, "In 30 years, I have never seen documentation like this." I said, "I like to be thorough." They didn't just ticket him. Because I'd proven the boat never moved, it qualified as abandoned property under the ordinance. They ticketed him for 11 separate violations, backdated because the photos proved every one. And they towed the boat. Here's the part I still think about. Dale had no idea any of this was coming. That Saturday morning, I was drinking coffee at my window when the tow truck backed up to his driveway. He came flying out in his bathrobe, screaming, waving papers. The tow operator just handed him a citation and kept winching. Dale turned and looked at my house. He knew. He absolutely knew. He stormed over and hammered on my door. I opened it, holding my coffee, calm as a lake. He said, "You did this." I said, "No, Dale, you did this." I just wrote it down. The fines came to something like $900. The tow and impound release ran him another $400, plus daily storage because he was too stubborn to go get it for a week. He tried to fight it in front of the city. He stood up and said I was harassing him. Then they projected my time-stamped photos on the wall, all 11 of them, and the hearing officer asked him one question. Did the boat move? Dale said no. Case closed. But the sweetest part came after. Word got around the neighborhood about the binder. Turns out I wasn't the only person Dale had bulldozed for years. The lady across the street whose flower bed he'd driven over. The old man whose recycling he'd knock into the road, they all started documenting things too. Dale spent that summer collecting citations like they were baseball cards. By fall, there was a for sale sign in his yard. He moved to somewhere with a big lot and no neighbors, which is exactly where a man like Dale belongs. He never did apologize. But the morning the moving truck pulled away, I stood in my clean, clear, boat-free driveway, and I pulled my car straight out onto the street in one smooth motion for the first time in 3 years. I didn't even need coffee that day. That feeling was enough. Every morning I woke up to find one more mark scratched into the inside of my bedroom door, and I lived alone. Little vertical lines, like a prisoner counting days. When I moved into that rented farmhouse, there were already 47 of them, low near the floor, and I figured some kid had done it years ago. Then the count started going up. The first new one appeared the 3rd night. I told myself I'd miscounted, but I'm an accountant, I don't miscount. So the 4th night I photographed the door before bed. 48 marks. I locked the bedroom from the inside, slid a chair under the handle, went to sleep. In the morning there were 49. I want to be clear about how ordinary my life was otherwise. I worked from home, I didn't drink, I had a dog, a good old shepherd named Ruth, who slept at the foot of my bed and would have lost her mind if anyone came in. Ruth never stirred. That's what unsettled me most. I called the landlord, an older man named Mr. Feist, who lived 2 towns over. I asked, casual as I could, about the previous tenants. He went quiet for a second. Then he said, "How many marks are on the door now?" Just like that. He knew about the marks. He said the last tenant left after they hit 60, and the one before that left too, and every renter who ever complained said the same thing. Something counts in that house. I asked him what it was counting. He said he genuinely didn't know, but that if I was smart, I'd move before the number got high. I asked what happened at a high number. He wouldn't say. He just repeated, "Move out," and hung up. Now, I'm not a superstitious person, but I'm not stupid either. So I did something an accountant would do. I started an investigation. I mapped the marks. The old 47 were faded and dusty. The new ones were bright and fresh. And here's the thing I noticed on night 6. The mark didn't just appear overnight, it appeared during a specific window. I set up a camera, and what the camera showed me made my stomach drop out of my body. At 3:11 in the morning, my own hand reached out from under the blanket and scratched the door with my house key. My eyes were closed. I was completely asleep. I was doing it. I'd been doing it the whole time. I didn't sleep at all that next day. I sat with that footage and tried to make it make sense. And slowly a memory surfaced that I'd buried so deep I'd forgotten it was mine. When I was a boy, my little brother went missing from a house we lived in for one summer. A farmhouse. This farmhouse. I hadn't recognized it because I'd been 8 and Mr. Feist had painted it and rebuilt the porch. But it was the same house. The 47 original marks. I'd made those too that summer, counting the days my brother had been gone, waiting for him to come home. He never did, and some part of me, the 8-year-old part that never stopped waiting, had come back to this exact door and picked up right where I left off. I called Mr. Feist one more time. I told him what I'd learned, and I asked him gently why he really rented to me specifically. There'd been a listing, but he'd emailed me first, personally offered me a discount. Long silence on the line, then he said in a voice that had gone very old, "I was the deputy who searched for your brother. I always thought whoever came back and counted again would be the one who knew where he was. I didn't know. I still don't. But I stopped sleeping in that room, and the counting stopped at 52. I think about that number more than I should. 52. My brother would have turned 52 the week I moved in. I never told Mr. Feist that part. Some counts you just have to let stop." My grandfather left me a voicemail the morning he died, and I was too busy to pick up. I was 26, buried in a job that ate my weekends, and when his name lit up my phone at 7:40 in the morning, I hit decline because I had a meeting. I figured I'd call him back at lunch. He passed at 9:15. I never called back. The voicemail sat on my phone for 2 years. I couldn't bring myself to play it. It felt like the one piece of him I hadn't used up yet, and I was terrified that once I heard it, there'd be nothing left to save. So I let it sit. Every time I opened my voicemails, there it was, 1 minute and 11 seconds, the last thing he ever said to me, and I'd scroll right past it with my chest tight. My grandfather raised me for a good stretch. My folks worked nights, so it was him who taught me to fish, to drive a stick shift in an empty church parking lot, to shake a hand like I meant it. He called me kiddo until I was old enough that it should have been embarrassing, and it never was. 2 years on, I was cleaning out my apartment to move in with the woman I was going to marry. She found me sitting on the floor with my phone in my hand, and I told her about the voicemail. She didn't push. She just sat down next to me and said, "Whenever you're ready, I'm right here." So I took a breath, and I pressed play, and I finally let him talk to me. His voice came through crackly and warm, and I nearly fell apart just at hello. He said, "Hey kiddo, it's your grandpa." He said he'd woken up early and been thinking about me, and he wanted me to know something before the day got away from him. He said, "I'm real proud of the man you turned out to be. I know you're busy chasing it all, and that's fine. That's what you're supposed to do. But don't chase so hard you forget to look up." The good stuff's always right in front of you. And then he said the thing that undid me. He said, I'm not calling because anything's wrong. I just had a feeling I should tell you today. Some feelings you shouldn't argue with. Call me back when you can, no rush. I love you, kiddo. No rush. He'd said no rush the morning he died. I sat there and I cried in a way I hadn't let myself in 2 years. My fiancé held me. And when I finally caught my breath, I noticed something I'd missed. There was a second voicemail, right after his, from a number I didn't recognize, left at 9:40 that same morning. I'd never played it either. I'd assumed it was spam. It was a nurse from the hospital. She said my grandfather had asked her to call. He'd had chest pains when he woke up, and he'd known somehow that it was serious, and the first thing he did before he let them call an ambulance was leave a message for me. And when the nurse offered to call me directly, he told her no. He said, let him have the one from me first. He'll need that one more. Even dying, he was thinking about which message I'd need most. He gave me his own voice before he let a stranger tell me he was gone. I played his voicemail at our wedding, just held the phone to the microphone during the toast and let a room full of people hear him say he was proud. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. My grandmother, who was 90 by then, laughed and cried at the same time and said, that's exactly how he talked. I still have it. I don't scroll past it anymore. Every so often, when the days get away from me and I've been chasing too hard, I stop and I play it. And I let the old man remind me to look up. The good stuff's always right in front of you. He was right. He usually was. If you made it this far, let me know down in the comments which of the 3 was your favorite. And I'll see you in the next one.